So let's talk a little bit about how voice production is accomplished. Navajo sounds have a lot of similarities to English sounds, but we're just going to, one of the hardest things is to understand how voice production and some of the sounds in the Navajo language as compared to the English language is accomplished. So let's talk just for a few minutes about the parts of the mouth and the throat that produce speech, and we're going to see how some English sounds are made, and then we're going to take a look at some of the more specialized Navajo sounds. So here we'll just identify the parts of the diagram first. Here, of course, we have the lips, the tongue, the teeth, the soft palate here, right here. This is the hard palate. Down here is the epiglottis. The epiglottis actually controls the air that comes from the trachea, which is coming up from your lungs. And whenever you swallow food, for example, this flap will actually move downward and close off the trachea so that you can swallow food down into your esophagus, and so that food won't get down into your lungs. We've all had the problem where we've drank some water, got something into our lungs, and we cough it up because we're trying to speak and eat at the same time, and we end up coughing because that epiglottis didn't get completely shut before that food or that liquid went down into our trachea. The vocal cords are located here, and it's by the tightening or the loosening of our vocal cords that we produce pitch. And pitch is important because in the Navajo language, of course, we know it's tonal. So by tightening your vocal cords, you produce a high pitch, such as ah, whereas loosening your vocal cords, you produce your lower pitches, ah, and so that's how we get the tonality with our voice. We're going to start up here with our lips. In the English language, we produce the sounds such as b, or or p. These are the sounds we produce with the lips. Now, the tip of the tongue, when put here at the top of the hard palate, if we take the tip of our tongue and we raise it up to the top, we get such sounds as d, the sound t, t, the dz, the z, z, and we also get the s, s, and the s is primarily accomplished by really putting our teeth together. The s and the z is a s or z. And so that's what we get there. We also get the DL, like dl, dl, and that's by putting the tip of our tongue up at the top of our hard palate there. We also get l, l, n, and so this is the sounds we get in English by putting our tongue, the tip of our tongue, either right here behind the teeth or just right here at the top, tip of the tongue up at the top of the hard palate. Now, there's some other sounds that we get if we move our tongues a little bit back, and here, this portion of the tongue, if we put it at the top of our hard palate, we can say j, j. And if you'll notice the difference between t and j, you notice that you're using this a little bit further back, not the tip of your tongue, but a little bit further back, and so you're getting the sounds such as j, or ch, 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 or the sh sound, sh, sh, and you're really putting this portion of your tongue up at the top of your hard palate and allowing air to pass by it. Now, by using the middle of our tongue and placing the middle of our tongue at the top of our hard palate, we get the g G. And if you notice the difference there, so we can just do a little exercise. We'll just say the words D, J, and G in succession, and we'll notice the different parts of the tongue that we're using. So, D, J, G. Did you notice how the tip of your tongue, in connection with and touching the top of your hard palate there, the different parts of your tongue, you're creating these different letters. Now if we go ahead and we take the back of our tongue now, and the back of our tongue is really going to really be a combination of taking the back of our tongue and really taking the back of our tongue and either placing it just right here at the top of our hard palate and really having the back of our tongue touch our soft palate. And here we get the k, 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 or the sh, sh, like sh sound. And so the K, you really notice that the back of your tongue is now touching the top of your hard palate and your soft palate at the same time. And K, we allow that air to move around it. So our vowels that we produce more has to do with the shape of our mouth and the way we open it up and the way we use our lips. So if we're going ah, that's a full open mouth. Ah, e, o, oo. And you just notice we have different ways of making vowels, and that's really the space that we allow in our oral cavity, and also where our tongue is shifting slightly to create those different vowel sounds. So now let's talk about switching and some of the more specialized Navajo sounds that we have. One of the first things that we can take a look at is really the air that passes up through the trachea, and we'll also take a look at how we use our epiglottis in Navajo. A lot of things happen at the epiglottis and in the throat and stopping air. Of course, we know the Navajo letter is called the glottal. It's a glottal stop. It looks like an apostrophe is written in English, but in Navajo it's called a glottal. And so, for example, we have the T glottal, the TS glottal, the T/L glottal, the CH glottal, and the K glottal are some of the letters that we have. So, for example, the word that we have in Navajo, that's for hello, ya'at-eh. So ya'at-eh. And every time there's a split there, this glottis is closing, forcibly stopping the air that's coming up through here. So ya, glottis, epiglottis closes, opens back up, at, making that T sound, epiglottis closes again, stopping the air, and then eh. And then so you can hear in my voice, ya, at, eh. And so that's what's actually happening anatomically in your throat whenever you see a glottal in the Navajo language. So there's lots of words. We see glottals all over the place. Bila ashlai, naotsos. We also have a question, ha'at-ish, ha'at-ish. And you notice there the air is stopping in the throat, and that's what's happening, is that epiglottis needs to be closing so that you stop that air. And it's actually a letter, so we have to consider it as a letter in the Navajo language, not something that we're used to doing. The same thing goes for the T glottal, so t'eh, the TS glottal. For example, the Navajo word for ida is only or solely. So we hear that. And so what's happening, now that we've talked about the epiglottis a little bit, is let's talk a little bit about what's happening with that TS and some of these specialized letters. So you put the tongue, your tip of your tongue, up at the roof of your mouth, really, to create that, like we would say, today. But really what needs to happen is we need to combine that by closing our teeth together and creating that S sound. And this needs to be done simultaneously. So you get a t sound with the tongue, the tip of your tongue up at the forefront of your soft palate while simultaneously closing your teeth. So ida. So it's kind of like a sprinkler you hear on the lawn that you would make a sound like, and that's really the TS in the Navajo language. Now, at the same time, the TS glottal, if we talk about that for just a second, with that, so now we're simultaneously combining this sound while, if we see a glottal at the end of TS glottal, we're going to be closing our epiglottis and stopping that air. So if we talk about that word ida, so we make the sound, and then before we go on, we close that glottis and stop that air, and then we continue with the rest of the word. So ida. So a helpful exercise with this is to actually take a deep breath in and then pronounce the word ida, and just breathe out after the TS glottal, ida. And that's really the accurate pronunciation of that letter. Now, one of the more difficult letters in the Navajo language is the /L. The /L, for example, is in the word for horse, is simply accomplished, really, by placing the tip of your tongue at the front of your hard palate, just like you're going to make an L sound, like love. But your vocal cords are not going to be involved here. What we want to do is we want to allow the tip of our tongue to be at the top, in the front of our hard palate. And so you go and you put the tip of your tongue up there, and then you allow air to pass by on both sides of your tongue. So you get L and take out the vocal cords, and you just go, and that's really the sound of the /L. You put your tip of your tongue up at the front of your hard palate, and you blow air out both sides. So you're allowing the air to come up here, and you're simply not involving your vocal cords in the sound as if you were in an L, like love. Instead, we can say it without the vocal cords and go love. And that would be an oralized and not a vocalized consonant. So that's your /L sound. Hopefully that helps out a little bit. One of the other ones that are more difficult in Navajo is the T/L. And that's going to be, for example, in alto or alzo. Alzo actually combines a /LT. You'll see the word, or you'll see the letter T/L glottal, and we'll talk about all this at once because it's a little bit easier to understand. The word for difficult is nanta or diltish, and this is a little bit difficult for an English speaker to get around in their mouth. What we want to do is we're going to, again, go with the T, so that and your tip of your tongue is actually going to be just about right here. So, but now we want to combine that, and you notice that when you make a simple T sound, you're not blowing air around the sides of your tongue. So, for example, in the word nun, your entire tongue is really going to be from the front to about 3/4 of the way back attached to the roof of your mouth. So, nan, if we were to say simply with the slash L, nan-sla. And then we take really the rest of our tongue from the front to about 3/4 of the way back, and we produce almost a hard clicking sound while allowing air to pass by on both sides of our tongue. And we get nan, nan, ah. And if you notice the difference, the slash L, only the tip of your tongue is here. But with the T slash L, it's here, and then about 3/4 of your tongue is stuck to the roof of your mouth while allowing air to pass by on both sides. Nan, ah. And so that's where you get really that more of a clicking sound. One other letter that we want to talk about is the GHA. In Navajo, this comes out, for example, as a gla. For example, the word for fry bread is da diniraj. Now we create the GHA sound by allowing the back of our tongue really to be on our soft palate. And so the sound actually emanates from the almost in the back of your mouth down into your throat. So, for example, the word for religion, naura, naura. Naura. Da denilgraj. If you hear it in my voice, so it's a the back of the tongue is really on the soft palate, and as you release the air, you let the tongue down as you're releasing the air. So now you notice there the front of the tongue comes down, the back of the tongue releases, and the air comes out. And that's vocalized. Now ra. Now ra. It takes a little bit of practice, but it can be done. As Navajo is a very complex and beautiful language. A lot of these sounds are difficult for English speakers to get, but with practice, it can be done. Dine Bizaad, Bihosh Agua et a nant a. The Navajo language is very difficult to learn. Inde Dine Bizaad et a nizho is very beautiful. So I hope this helped out a little bit with our anatomy. That's one thing that we really wanted to talk about before we start learning how to read Navajo, is understanding how sound production and the anatomy of sound production works.